Alright, so this is the last one of the series. This is the DPS list. And I'm gonna put out a couple of disclaimers. Number one, this is gonna be a long video. I'm not doing a recap. If you miss any of this video, you gotta go back to the beginning and start here from the disclaimer, okay? Number two, this is a generic list. This is not like high tier only, low tier only. This is covering all the tiers. This is my personal opinion, and unlike tank and support, because there are 17 DPS in the game, this list is a lot more tier-oriented as to this bunch right here is the bottom tier. This bunch right here is the situational tier. This bunch right here is the good tier. This bunch right here is the hard carry tier. Okay? It's not like I'm sitting here going, you know, the number 3 character is explicitly the 3rd best DPS in the game. There is some room for maneuvering, but it's more of a general ballpark on DPS, rather than a straight up like tank and support where there are fewer of them. It's easier to sit there and say, you know, this is a definitive 1, this is a definitive 2. This is more of a tier list, so to speak, of A, B, C, D, as opposed to 1, 2, 3. Also, this list right here, I want to mention that there's 17 DPS. Okay? That's a lot to cover. So, let's start. I'm starting from bottom to top on this one. The worst damage in the game right now, Farrah.
I will protect the innocent.
So, what does Farrah do? She is a high damage spam character. There is another high damage spam character in the game that does her job better, which is why she is here. Now, high DPS spam character doesn't get a lot of value in Overwatch. She has good mobility, right? He's like, I can fly, I can fly. She requires a lot of mechanical skill because of that. But she doesn't have very good CC, which is kind of the name of the game. Her ult's great for killing people. You know what the problem is? There are a lot of other characters that are spam-based characters with good AoE group ults for killing people. Farrah doesn't fit the bill. And not to mention, the higher up the list we go, the more hit scans you're gonna see, baby! And you know what Farrah doesn't like? To fly in the air and all of a sudden just randomly get shot down by a DPS that's a fucking hit scan. And because of that, she doesn't fit. She relies on a Mercy to really bail her out. She's your bottom damage. I'm sorry, she is. Now, slightly above her is Sombra, because Sombra is incredibly weak right now. Let me explain how the Sombra cycle plays, okay? She goes invisible. She runs over to a health pack. She throws her teleporter on it. She gets in the enemy backline. She hacks them. She does as much damage as she can before she has to teleport out and repeat the cycle again. That's what Sombra does. Sombra makes you 5v6. Okay? Now, Sombra can punish a number of characters. Mostly tanks and supports. But all the tanks that she punishes are relatively close-range oriented tanks. Rhines, Sigmas, Hogs, Orissas, and even then, if she's in range to punish them, they're in range to punish her. Like, this is a Ryan right here, and you're trying to hack? Oh yeah, you're gonna hack him, no problem. You know what the problem is? He's gonna smash you in the face with hammer, and you have to teleport out. So she's the character that has to sit there and has to try and put out as much damage as she can between that tiny window of people realizing, oh shit, there's a Sombra in our back line, and then all unilaterally deciding that this Sombra needs to be sent back to Mexico. Like, playing Sombra is basically playing border control episode from South Park. If anybody's seen that, where there's Cartman and Butters goes down to Mexico by accident and ends up leading the revolution and sends all the Mexicans back over the border. So Cartman joins the border patrol to now stop the Mexicans from leaving the US and keeping them here. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to get political. I'm literally mentioning that episode of South Park because you are literally treated like that when you play Sombra. Her whole design of, I'm gonna sneak in the back line, I'm gonna hack you, I'm gonna piss you off, and then you're gonna say, fuck you! Get out of here! That is how Sombra plays.
I'm out of here.
And the fact that Sombra gets no realistic value outside of annoying other people puts her at the bottom of the list. Now, they are the bottom two. Okay, they are the two that you get no value out of. So now let's talk about the meme hard carry group. There are 4 people in this group. And in the bottom, in my opinion, is Genji. Now I say this as someone who enjoys playing Genji. The problem with Genji is a dive-based character that's based around diving in the back line, annoying the shit out of people, and farming his ult. Of the characters that sit there and farm their ult, he probably contributes the least when he does it. He has high sustain, and he's annoying. He's the guy that gets up in your face and look, I'm reflecting. You can't touch me. Can't touch me. Mechanically, he's a relatively hard character to aim with. He gets no real value out of spamming shield because he doesn't get ult charge, but that's the easiest thing he can do. So what he does is he dashes, gets in your back line, annoys your supports, dashes out, farms ult, then all of a sudden you hear the dreaded words, the words that no one wants to hear. And yeah, it's fuck you up time, yeah. And then Genji goes back to being useless again, because he now no longer has his ultimate ability, and he's sitting there spamming, I need healing. I need healing.
I require healing.
How many times have you gone into a game, heard a Genji bum rush in their face, I'm reflecting, and then not 5 seconds later you hear, I need healing. Genji 2020. I mean, that's Genji. I'm sorry. Genji is that character that can hard carry a game if you know how to play him. The fact that I would say roughly 90% of the Overwatch community does not know how to play Genji properly means that you are going to see 10 Genjis for every 1 good Genji. Well, no, your math is wrong. You would see 9 Genjis for everyone. No, because then you get the toxic Genji player that legitimately knows how to play Genji, but is trash anyways and spams need healing and refuses to play because the Ana won't nano boost him when he has Blade. So then there's that demographic of Genji players. As I say, because Genji's a fun character to play, who has a lot of value, if you know how to play him. But mechanically, the difficulty of playing Genji, getting value out of Genji, and then actually winning with Genji, those 3 things are like a Venn diagram that is so small, you're very rarely going to get it. Next up, we have Junkrat. Allow me to explain what Junkrat does, okay? Allow me to explain. I can explain what Junkrat does in very simple terms. And sad part is, he's a more effective version of Farrah. So if I'm harsh on Junkrat, just double that and put it on Farrah, okay? This is what Junkrat does. I sit in the back, and I spam. What am I spamming, you ask? Well, I'm spamming shields, and I'm spamming choke points. And you can't do anything against me until you come back and kill me. And then when you come back and kill me, I just concussion mine out and start shooting you again. Because I'm Junkrat, and that's all I do. And then there's objective-based games, right? So this is what Junkrat does. He throws Steel Trap, you get caught in Steel Trap, and he kills you. And you might think, well, that's dumb. Why would everyone ever do that? Well, because you see, kids, this here is Overwatch. And Junkrat's a playable character in Overwatch. And Junkrat gets a lot of value on annoying maps, like 2CP maps. And then, but wait, there's more. Then Junkrat gets this wonderful little ultimate ability where he just hides behind a tank and 9 times out of 10 solo ult somebody. And that other 1 out of 10 time, he team wipes. And he's just like, yep, I'm Junkrat, I'm going to throw my tire at you. And my tire is going to kill you. My tire is going to do more damage than hitting you in the head with a hammer for some reason. But that is Junkrat. He is the spam-based character that is why 2CP is so unfun to play against sometimes. He is very easy to counter. He doesn't give your team that much. And he's that low-tier hero that you're going to see, like, Junkrat players, like, god-tier Junkrat players that are perma-stuck in bronze because they literally stand out in the open and emote after a kill, and then just get absolutely shredded by a Reaper that just comes up behind them and punishes them for daring to emote. Next up, we have everyone's personal bronze hero favorite, Bastion! Now look, I love Bastion. Bastion is a fun character to play. This is what Bastion does. Bastion sits down in one spot and holds a button. And he melts anybody that comes in front of him. That's what Bastion does. And you know what Bastion players like to have? They like to have Mercies that are damage amping them. And they like to have Reinhardts with big shields in front of them. And the problem is that Mercies and Reinhardts are not good the higher up the food chain you go. And neither is Bastion. Because if he gets flanked, he's fucked. And he doesn't really do anything if you force him to move. And yes, he can heal himself, but then he can't shoot. Yeah, Bastion's a fun character. You know what Bastion's not good at? Attacking outside of pirate ship and defending outside of bunker comp. And legitimately doing anything besides holding down one button the whole time and saying, nah, fuck you, you're just not gonna play the game that you spent $60 on. You're just gonna die because I'm a Bastion player. And I'm here to ensure that you don't have fun. Right? But Bastion is lower on the list than other Fun Police characters because a simple little Genji can counter you. And that humble little Genji that just runs in and deflects in your face owns you. So yes, Bastion is unfortunately a low-tier player. And now I'm going to present you with probably the most controversial thing on this list that you're going to disagree with. Widowmaker is a low-tier character that fits in the spam meme genre. I'm going to say this, okay? I'm going to give Widowmaker one singular compliment here. Widowmaker is the single best character in the game for deleting heads. If you want to kill someone, you play Widowmaker. See that? That's Widowmaker. Widowmaker is a great character if that's all you want to do. She's not even mechanically that hard to play. As long as you hit your shots, you're good. You want to know why Widowmaker sucks? Allow me to explain. We see Widowmaker does not offer her team anything outside of popping heads. Outside of this ultimate ability right here, that goes away as soon as you die, and Hanzo has a better version of it. Now, yes, she can grapple, she can get to elevated positions very easily, and then start raining down death. Yes, she's able to get on a cart and contest the cart very easily. Widowmaker does one thing. That. In a team objective-based game, popping heads is not the only thing that wins you games. And that's why Widowmaker is low on the list. Because what Widowmaker does is not enough to win you a game realistically. She can pop heads, she can pop off, she can wipe the whole enemy team. But until she decides to grapple it and touch point and capture it herself, she can't win a game on her own. She has to rely on her team. And Widowmaker is just not a strong enough character to win you a game. So the next character that we have is the Fun Police herself. These are the characters that aren't particularly great in my opinion, but they fit in this role because they're very good at doing one thing specifically, and that alone can sometimes win you a game. So we have the Queen of Fun Police herself, Symmetra. Okay? Now, Symmetra is the least fun character in the game to play against. If you think Bastion's bad, allow me to explain. So, and this is why also, I'm going to explain why. So Symmetra is higher up on the list than Bastion because she has the ability to flank an entire team around and capture a point. Okay? That gives her advantage over Bastion. They are both unfun to play against. They are both fun to play as. They both heavily punish tanks. They both heavily punish fat targets, okay? So that is why Symmetra is over Bastion, even though... And Symmetra's harder to counter. Okay? I just wanted to mention that. This is what Symmetra does. I am throwing these shitty little things. They're gonna sit here, they're gonna damage you, they're gonna kill you, they're gonna slow you, and we'll hold my beam down on you, and you're gonna melt, and you're gonna die, and I'm gonna get powered up. The longer I hold this beam on you, and if you have a shield, you're fucking dead. Yeah, this is Symmetra. She just melts you. And then you get the opposite Symmetras that just spam. Now I'm just gonna spam you with these little annoying projectiles. You're gonna take some damage, you're gonna get mad, you're gonna, oh my god, fuck this Symmetra. Alright, then you're gonna build a wall like you think you're Donald Trump or something like that. And then that's it. That's Symmetra. But realistically, that is not good. She basically punishes tanks. And if it were not for her ability to teleport the entire enemy team behind and win points as well, she would be lower on the list. And then next up we have Torbjorn. And let me explain why Torbjorn is here. Okay? Torbjorn actually has a relatively high damage output for his primary fire. If you can aim, you can do a good amount of damage. And you have that shotgun form that also does damage. That's a nice asset to have. So he has good damage output with two different ways to deal damage. And he has a nice turret up here, which just automatically shoots shit and kills shit for you. It's mostly to serve as a distraction for the enemy team, believe it or not, but, you know. This is back. This is right here. This is Torbjorn. But he has nothing he offers his team outside of straight up damage. The only reason why I give him the advantage over the Widow, he has a turret, and the turret will distract you. So that's Torbjorn. Next up, we have La Tracer. Tracer is not the best flank character yet. She has an insanely high DPS output. She has insanely high get-in, get-out potential, right? But she's also a very risky play that unless you know how to play Tracer and know how to manage cooldowns, she's very weak. She also doesn't have good damage at range, which means she has to get up close and personal to do damage. And while she's great at doing that, you can punish her very hard.
Triple kill. Double kill. Triple kill.
And as soon as you punish Tracer, and she's forced to sit back at this range and start peppering you with shots, she loses all value. Next up, surprisingly high on the list compared to everybody else, Doomfist. Why is Doomfist here? Well, let's start. Doomfist to me is a better version of Tracer. He is a lot less punishing to play in my opinion than Tracer. His skill cap is also slightly higher than Tracer. I think people just don't know how to combo with Doomfist, or they use the same combo, which is usually the wrong combo. Okay? Doomfist is basically the backline answer to anything. And he deletes anything when he gets in your backline. If you play Doomfist effectively, you delete everything instantly. Yeah, that's Doomfist. The fact that people don't know how to play Doomfist is why he's so low. A lot of people like to engage with punch, then use everything else at their disposal and leave themselves no way to get out except their ult, which is the wrong way to play him. Doomfist is a great brawling type character, but he's been power crept out of meta. And that's why he's mid-tier. I still think a high-level Doomfist player that knows what they're doing will beat any other character that's not a Doomfist. But he's just been power crept out. So now we're getting into the good characters. At the bottom of this list is Reaper. I have Reaper here because I personally hate Reaper. I'm being completely honest on that. Reaper is a great close-range brawler. He's a great flank character. He has great survivability. He has great damage output. One problem. That's great.
Death comes.
That's not. I know you're saying, well, he has shotguns. Obviously. That's not great. That's great. That's great. That's not great. And it feels to me like at times he's just a character that you just farm until you're able to just drop down and do that. Like, yeah, he's a great annoying backline character, but only when he's getting up in your face and bullying you and punishing you for your mistakes. If you're not punishing, then you're there. So now we are into the top 6. Okay, so we're technically into the top 3rd. At the bottom of this list is McCree. I love McCree. McCree's a great damage character, especially if you know how to aim. He punishes tanks because of that. He has good CC because of that. He's overall great. The problem is McCree is actually a lot softer and more vulnerable than people think. People think that, well, he has flashbang, so he can just flashbang and roll out. Yeah, no. If flashbang's on cooldown, you have no way to defend yourself than to out DPS. And if you get punished, you're dead. Like, as great as this is against AI. This is against static targets. And he doesn't have mobility. Roll doesn't count. But I think he's a very solid DPS. I think he's one of the best characters for if you're new to mechanical aim characters, but you have good mechanical aim, play McCree. McCree's probably your best option. The other thing, too, is he's also kind of a low skill trap, because a lot of players will just fan the hammer, roll, fan the hammer type shit, and that doesn't get you any value. His ult is also very easy to avoid, so... Next up, we have my boy, Hanzo.
With every
Hanzo's
death
a superior
comes
version of Widowmaker. Why do I say that?
honor, redemption.
Double kill.
Uh-huh, that's why. Faster than Widowmaker, he can one-shot. But he's more mechanically aim-dependent than Widow is. He does not have a scope. He has to hit headshots. He, unlike other characters, is not afraid to be a barrier break. He has a better version of Widow's ult because it's on a cooldown, right? He has storm arrows. He can defend himself if he gets jumped. He has a good damage ult.
Double kill.
See that which is unseen.
Double kill. Triple kill.
My enemies
Quadruple kill.
Right? You can really stack up the damage on Hanzo. Problem. That's all he does. He doesn't give your team any real crowd control. He doesn't support your team in any realistic way. He just sits there and I'm just gonna hit you with shots. I'm gonna kill you and you're gonna regret that. You have a Hanzo that can aim. At number 4, Mrs. Freeze. She actually has surprisingly good long-range damage output. That's not why you play Mei. You play Mei to annoy the enemy and to kill them. You get up in their face, you start freezing them, and then you start peppering them with icicles, and you spam high. Because she's cute, and she's innocent. And the little Chinese lady just bullied you into fucking oblivion with a freeze ray. Her wall is pretty good for making her a secondary tank, and the fact that she can, like, contest points and heal is great as well. She punishes tanks quite heavily. She has good crowd control. The real disadvantage to her is she doesn't have a lot of range outside of her icicle launcher. And while her icicle launcher is great, it means she can't freeze as much. Other than that, she's probably the best damage in the game outside of, like, straight DPS. She's a kill confirmer. Next up, we have Soldier. I have Soldier high on the list because of this. He can heal, okay? This automatically makes him a better damage character because he is giving your team something besides damage and crowd control while having good damage. If you can aim with him as well, he has insane damage. And if you can't aim with him, well, then you just farm up your ult and you get auto-aim. He has flank potential. He has good overall potential. He's a solid hit scans right now, or the top meta. He's up there. At number 2, we have Echo. I have Echo number 2 for 2 reasons. First off, she's a hybrid projectile hit scan that does a ton of damage. She has a sticky bomb and a delete laser, which is very good. She does a lot of damage. In addition to that, do you miss goats? Do you miss being able to run 3 tanks? Well, boy, have I got the character for you. Do you like flying? Do you like putting out obscene amounts of damage? Do you then like having 3 tanks?
Roadhog. Over here. I'm going whole hog. Reversing personality module. Going free.
That's Echo. She's brain dead broken. At number 1, we have Ashe. And Ashe is at number 1 for a relatively interesting... Why is the Roadhog not dead? Did I, like... Oh my god. Hi.
Hey.
Here's why Ashe is number 1. Everything she does deals damage. There's this. There's this. There's that.
Don't miss.
And there's that. And then she summons Bob. You might say, well, she's a straight damage character. She can outduel a Widow. She can brawl with a Reaper. And outside of her lengthy-ass reload, she's the best overall damage in the game. Because everything she does is damage, and she does damage surprisingly well.
Double kill.
And she's got crowd control. And she's got Bob. And how can you not like Bob? Bob is great.